As we count down the days to Las Vegas, I'm connecting with speakers, sponsors, and industry experts to get a pulse on what we can expect to see at Enterprise Connect 2026.
Hi, my name is Pete Kolak. I've been in the UC industry for over 30 years. I got my start back when video conferencing was done over PRI and BRI lines. Now everything's over the internet, and we've dove headfirst into that and really enjoy Enterprise Connect as a place to kind of go see what's new and what's going on with all this new technology coming out.
Pete, it's great to get some time with you today. Really looking forward to the event, connecting with you and learning from what's going to be shared over the couple of days. I'm curious maybe to jump in as somebody who is responsible for real world collaboration environments. Why do you keep coming back to Enterprise Connect, and what is some of the value that you see that maybe you can't get other places?
Sure. Well, I return to Enterprise Connect because it prioritizes the why of collaboration over the technical how found at a lot of the other hardware-centric shows. While a lot of the other events focus on the raw power of displays and audio and things like that, Enterprise Connect delivers unique value through its deep focus on software roadmaps, vendor-neutral analysis of AI implementation, and then like a governance of enterprise-wide ecosystems. This is something that a lot of people are really interested in. Something I don't particularly look for, but a lot of my colleagues do, is the security and the network and other things that go on at Enterprise Connect. It's also more intimate with the vendors and the manufacturers than a lot of the other programs that are like just packed in with thousands of people bumping into each other in the trade show. So to me, I like it because you get a lot more face time, a lot more interaction with your colleagues, a lot more interaction with manufacturers and vendors.
Pete, I love that you said it focuses on the why. If I look at a lot of the missteps, delays, even failures that organizations have encountered as of late, my perspective is that we jump too fast to the what and don't give enough weight to understanding the why and how we get there effectively. And I agree with you that Enterprise Connect for me has certainly been the place where these conversations come together in a different way, in a meaningful way. Try to figure out how do the distinctive parts of our organization collaborate to drive the outcomes that are right for our employees and for the customers that we serve. One of the things that I've observed, and I'm curious on your take here, is around how large organizations connect specifically, those that have physical locations. I think as the enterprise grows, they see that their conference room footprint also just kind of organically grows with them. I'm just curious for businesses that are at that place, at what point does that flexibility turn into friction for them and the need to standardize what they're doing become unavoidable?
Right. Well, I think a lot of it comes back to your support model. So it's one thing to give the users everything they want, and that's kind of what a lot of companies strive for, give everybody everything they ask for. The problem is maintaining that is nearly impossible. That's why they only allow one or two different types of computers. They only allow certain type of cell phones. They don't allow an open gamut of whatever you want in any other part of their business, except for when it comes to UC. And they just started, hey, use a Logitech, use a this cam, that cam. So a lot of companies, when they hit a wall, when they're trying to maintain this stuff, and they find out something breaks, and then they got to replace it, and then, well, what did we use in this room, and what did we use in that room? And then upgrading and keeping track of what's end of life and what's new, and software revisions become a huge burden on the support base, as well as budgeting and trying to, I try to do a flatline budget, so we figure out what our total investment is for UC over the entire organization, then divide that by 4 or 5, depending on how many years you want to do it. And then you have a flat line budget, basically, of renovation. You can't really do that if you don't know what you have, and if you have it all over the place. On the user can be significant as well, because if they go in one room and they have one interface and they go in another, it's in a different interface, and that can be a big drag on productivity. And the loss of productivity was a big focus I had starting about 15, 20 years ago, when I realized people going to a conference room and spending 5 or 10 minutes to try to get a meeting going really is a soft dollar drain on that company. And so having your standards so it's easy to use, people don't think about it should just disappear to them. They should walk in a room and their meeting should commence as if there was no technology. And that's been my focus. And I think people will feel that when they start to have to fix things and have to renovate things. That's when I think that conversation starts in a smaller company as they transition to a bigger footprint.
Yeah, I was curious on that front. Standardizing across conference rooms can be costly. It can be time consuming when you do it at first and set that foundation. Are there any specific problems that you see surfacing for employees or for IT teams when it's like, hey, maybe you're at that point? I know you alluded to it a little bit, but how do I recognize for my organization that, yeah, maybe it's time? There's 2 or 3 warning signs that might be popping up.
I think it really has to do with depending on how many people you have staffing the support model, when you start to realize you have to bring on more people than you need, the efficiencies of supporting a standard is way higher than a disparate type of solution. So I think the organizations will start to realize this person's overworked, or I'm using 3 of my guys full time to solve problems when I don't have a plan, I don't have it budgeted out, I don't have it spelled out very clearly, like what rooms are coming due, what do we have in each space. And there's also a financial impact when it comes to depreciation. If you have a certain dollar amount that you spend, it depreciates over a certain period of time. And if the IT organization isn't tracking that, they get bit by finance sometimes. So finance might call them up and say, hey, this stuff's you just threw something away that's still depreciating, or you still have this in service and depreciated 3 or 4 years ago. So some of those flags will pop up. They'll get calls from finance if they're tracking it. Some companies don't actually track it that much. Or they'll find out that the maintenance and the burden on their employees that are maintaining these rooms is too much. And they got to kind of like streamline it and standardize it.
So when IT teams are coming to that point of deciding to streamline and standardize, for people who aren't part of that decision and are often the employees maybe affected by what gets put into place, I think that those standards can be framed as an efficiency play. And again, from an employee standpoint, whether it's their productivity, whether it's their confidence in the solution, or even their general trust in workplace technology, how do you believe that IT leaders should shape the way that they're thinking about their conference room standards and the impacts that they're going to have on the people who are counting on it every single day?
So there's a lot of planning goes involved before you pick your standard, and I think it's very important to get the user feedback. Because what I think is important, they may not even care about, and I may completely overlook something they think is important. So having pilot programs, meetings with, a lot of times find out the admins in the company or the heartbeat of the whole company. So getting together with the admins, because they hear all the complaints, they hear all the compliments, they know everything really. So having meetings with them and saying, hey, we're thinking about doing this or that, or what are we missing? Set up a pilot room and have them test it and get feedback. Gathering feedback from the employee base is absolutely critical before you start to set your standards. And then once you set your standards, I think it's extremely important not to revisit them in less than 6 months, if not a year, because if you're constantly changing your standards, you don't have a standard. You have a ever-flowing guide, not a standard. So I think it's important to listen to the customer before you set your standards and design around that. And then sometimes the customer doesn't actually know what's best. They might ask for too much, and trying to simplify down to getting to just the basic, what is the most important features we need to include in our standards.
It's reminds me, Peter, a bit about building a house. When you first kind of get it, there may be things that you're like, I want to change this, I don't like it right away. But actually with time you realize, no, that's exactly where and how and what I need to be. And it provides more value now as I get more comfortable and familiar with it. But then there are those other things that it takes time for it to settle, to then expose, hey, here's where maybe we do actually need to have some changes or improvements, but you need that settling time. And I think you reinforcing, hey, once you've set the standard, give it time to set. Yep. is so valuable, and to not just immediately move to, oh, here's our instinct, we need to change. Not a good practice to be in.
It's hard because you get pressures to make something different than what you did sometimes.
Yeah. Pete, I appreciate you sharing a little bit of your perspective with me. As I mentioned at the beginning, it's going to be great to connect and learn from you at this year's conference. I look forward to seeing you in Las Vegas in just a few more days.
Great. I can't wait.